Welcome to Booklandia, where we review romance novels.
This and every episode are chock full of oversharing and spoilers. Every episode is rated E for explicit.
Hi!
Hi!
This is Booklandia, and I am Sky.
I'm Ford!
And today we're going to be talking about How to Marry a Marble Marquis by C.M. Nascosta.
This is the best intro to an episode we've done this season.
I know. This season has been fraught with technical difficulties or
mental difficulties.
Yes. So because immediately following this lovely introduction to what's happening today, I have to do an apology parade for last episode. Apology parade. So if you are one of the few people who watches us on YouTube rather than listens to us as a podcast, you might have noticed that last week's episode begins very abruptly with Ford telling you what the book is about. And it's because for the first 10 minutes of the recording, my microphone was only recording to the audio side and not to the video side. And so I chopped that nonsensical part off. So sorry about that.
If you want to hear something like a top of an episode that was completely off the rails, makes no sense. It starts with, I believe I was flexing.
You were flexing to begin with. Yeah. Your arms look great.
So no one gets to see my arm flex is what you're telling me.
Yes. That is what I'm telling you. So sorry.
The end of the episode too.
True. So if you are a watcher of the episodes, go to your favorite podcasting platform, find us there, listen for the first 10 minutes. It is off the rails, but it gives context to the rest of the episode. If it didn't make sense, like if it truly did make sense without those first 10 minutes.
Excellent.
So sorry. Have rectified that. We'll see how it goes. So far, we've yet to have an episode without a technical difficulty this season.
And like last season too, like, look, don't come here for audio excellence in our engineering, our in-room engineering. The things Finn does are incredible, and he makes us better than we actually are. And he deserves an award, so we should talk about that. And look, perfection isn't what we do. It's not who I am.
No, it's about the journey, clearly, and not the destination around here.
Long and wild
and windy. Hey, if it wasn't that, I don't know that you'd want to be on it.
No, I don't do like tight-laced, proper. That's not me.
I believe you are going for basic bitch.
I was going for basic bitch, and I could never.
Exactly.
I'm too unbasic. Oh my god. Okay, so we are talking about How to Marry a Marble Marquis, C.M. Nascosta.
Yes.
I, for the first time ever, have for the first time this season, shown up and written the blurb for you to read, Sky.
Fabulous. And I have had no time to pre-read this, so...
And it's a little long, I think, so you might want to, like...
Okay, good to know. Good to know. All right. Let's see if I can do this.
Excellent. Good luck.
Oh, I just read the first sentence and cool. Okay. And 3, 2, 1. After an embarrassing tumble with a footman, Miss Eleanor Eastwick's last chance to find a husband and pull her and her family out of destitution will be at the Monsters' Ball. The family friend and sponsor of her season enlists the help of the most notorious rake, Lord Silas Stride, the Marquis of Bassingston. and also a gargoyle to teach Eleanor the ways to secure a match at the ball. And of course, the first step in seduction is seduction. Eleanor is determined. That was the end of the timer. Eleanor is determined to keep her eye on the prize, even when her heart is lost to Silas, who seems determined to not let her affect his heart of stone.
It's all right. Yeah. It's an okay blurb.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, that is what the story is about.
Yeah. Incredible when I read the book recently, what I can remember.
So this is our first time doing an episode on C.M. Nascosta's writing, which is kind of crazy.
Surprising.
Yes. Yeah. Because in case you don't know this prolific book talk sensation, you are not reading monster porn, is what that tells me. If you don't know who C.M. Nascosta is, your romance book club has not wandered into the depths of monsters yet.
So this is a question I have like later in our script, but I feel like it's appropriate now. It like, is she a writer? Like, do you consider her writing on the scale of monster smuttiness entry level, mid level, advanced monster porn?
Oh, I think she. By the way, my presumption is a she here. I think.
Yes, I also my presumption.
Okay. So I feel like if there's ever someone who codified a genre, like who shaped a genre in which we just read the wildest pairing and go, yeah, that seems perfectly reasonable. It's C.M. Nascostas, right? Like minotaurs and more minotaurs,
werewolves,
actually.
Yeah.
Werewolves. There's a vampire one. There's a mer a mer person is
one.
There's a Kraken one. There's this one. I think in the land of, like, firstly, I would say if you're looking to jump into monsters, this is a great entry point, but it is also the deep end. Like, go ahead.
Yes, it's a great entry point, but it is also, I think, fairly mid-level to advanced. I would almost say something like fairy porn or like some of that Sarah J. Maas stuff is maybe the entry level.
I see what you're saying. They're
still fairly humanoid, but they are not a human species.
Right.
And fair. This is like when you start the Cambric Creek series, she's jacking off minotaurs.
Right. Like, and like, yeah, and it just is like, it is just part of the day. There's no additional explanation for it. That's her job.
And it's the world.
Right. And like, so this is definitely all the way into monsters, and they are truly monsters in that they are very minimally humanoid.
Yeah. I would definitely say this book's a good starter because he's still humanoid enough. And then like my suggestion is this book, then the Cambric Creek series, and then the new one, I don't remember what the To Ravish a Rogue, because both of them are monsters in that book. But whereas the four other books, the 3 Cambric Creeks in this book, the female character is a human and the male type is the monster.
Yes, fair. Yeah, To Ravish Rogue was surprised. Like, yeah, if you are not ready for it, you are not ready for it.
Right. It's delightful, and it might be my favorite book that she has written because it is so different. But it is different than these other 4 books, and there's kind of this formula: human woman, monstrous male. She either helps him or needs help from him, and then horniness and smuttiness ensue. And so like she has kind of a formula for a while, and you're like, okay, and letting the monsterness be the unique thing that happens. But she's really good with world building too. Like the Cambric Creek world is good. This world is good.
Right. And so before I make this
Yeah.
comment, I will also say that if you, like me, as a teenager, watch the Disney Gargoyle TV show,
Mm-hmm.
this
Triggering?
book is no, this book is what happens when you get to become
Ah.
an adult and finish writing that fanfic. I'm sorry, if you didn't have a massive boner both for the main gargoyle and for the
Mm-hmm.
female protagonist, who I want to say is April, but I think April is actually the name of
It's
the Ninja Turtles one, and this one is not April.
yes. Yes, I was about to be like, that's Ninja Turtles. I think I was too young to understand what boners were when I watched that TV show, so I'm a little behind on the times there. But I do like remember vaguely that TV show. So, good to know
I
that this is
and this is
one
perhaps,
for
yeah,
certain.
I was gonna say perhaps
Right.
the few years of age difference that is between us.
Yeah.
This is one of the only times when it really matters because I was old enough to be like,
Mhm. Oh.
yes, purple man with wings, and yes, woman
Mhm.
with the phenomenal features.
Curvature.
Yes.
I do remember now that you said purple gargoyle, I was like, "Oh, he was ripped."
Yeah,
I
and in a
remember
loincloth,
yeah.
and yeah,
Yeah.
with the
Okay.
good hair. It's a
Yeah.
whole situation, and this book is like, well, we took
Oh,
those two and we made them actually complete the transformation into fully stone adults, if you will, and it's worth the
yeah.
read. So that's my that's
And
my
shove it
byline.
into, like, a Regency drama.
Right. So this is my byline. If you've
Yeah.
ever wondered what happens in Gargoyles, the TV show after
Yeah.
dark, this is it.
Amazing. Amazing. The comp is uncomparable, shall we say.
Yes. And then I'm
Um,
sorry, what I
yeah.
was going to
No,
say is
please.
so this book was
Yeah.
an audiobook or was available as an audiobook first before the
Mhm.
text was available. And I think in most instances that is still the case.
Yes.
And it's only 6.5 hours, which for an
Yeah.
audiobook is short. So it's really a novella rather than a full length novel.
Mhm.
And even though it is shorter than a full length novel, characters have specific depth. The world
Mhm.
is clearly defined. I have very
Mhm.
few questions about the world. And
Yep.
the society and the rules of this society are both the same and different from other regency, and
Mhm.
again, I don't have many questions. So yes, world building is top notch, great
Yeah.
people. It is limited in the number of people that we need, but I think it's
Right.
that's a novella situation.
So Goodreads clocks it in at 216 pages, which is half the length of a normal romance novel. They also use she/her pronouns in her bio on Goodreads, so to clear that up.
Right.
Yeah, and all of her books are about that length. At least the Cambric Creek books; those are the ones I've read. I haven't read her earlier work. Um, so like I'm not going to say potato chip books, but like you could sit down and easily read it or listen to it in a day, 2 days. Like it's easily consumable. So a party size bag of chips for me, I can eat that in 2 days, no problem. Um, and I kind of like that. Like especially in this book, she took a Regency period drama, which for the most part, as romance readers, we understand the culture, the concept, the rules of that society. And then she just turned it on its head. And as you mentioned earlier this season, you love the subversion of a trope. And this is like subversion of a genre. And it's really delightful. Um it she does it very cleanly. You
Yes,
know,
I
everything's kind of the same except he's a gargoyle, and then there's like a not subversive monster culture, but like an alternative society, monster society.
yeah, and then the concept that women in the household hold all the power. See
Mhm.
Silas's sister. Um,
Mhm.
right, and like
Yeah.
secretly they run the world, and we see
Yeah.
that like that comes through. So yeah, great job all around. This was a delight. I was really like the oh, hold on, we haven't even done this bit yet. the
Yeah.
cover the cover is
Yes.
gorgeous, and
Yes. It's a
actually is
sort
the
of
reason.
yeah, old
Goddess
school romance
Ripper.
cover.
Yeah,
Yeah.
except his wings take up the entire top half of it, which is fabulous.
Mhm.
So the reason I originally put this book on my TBR is because of this cover. This was
Yeah.
entirely like delightful eye candy, and
Mhm.
I was like, there's nothing wrong with this cover. Like, I absolutely
Yeah.
want to know what happens when this marble statue comes to life and
Mhm.
uh, rips her dress apart, which is clearly
Yeah.
what's going to happen immediately after this was painted.
Yeah. I do have a fault with the cover, but it's not in the art. It's at the top where it says The Monsters Ball, because that implies that it's part of a series.
So
The
I
Monsters Ball series.
I think
Yes?
it. I hope it is, because we have to have the sister storyline. We have to. She's too cool of a
Sh
character not to.
the sister, you mean like the 14-year-old
No,
girls?
I mean Silas's
Oh,
sister, who's pregnant.
Maris.
Yes,
I
because
see.
like somewhere before she's the
Yes.
pregnant head of household,
Right.
there had to have been her story, right? And she
Mhm.
mentions the fact that her and her husband weren't sure
It
if
was
she
an
could carry,
arranged.
right, and if she could carry
Yeah.
the pregnancy to term. And
Mhm.
there definitely a conversation about the fact that they were an arranged marriage, but also that she cares
Mhm.
for her husband. So
Yeah.
that like all the
Yeah.
tropes of like arranged marriage turned love match, that is like
Right.
it's
So good.
ripe for the taking. So I am really
Yeah.
hoping that the fact that at the very top of this book cover
Mhm.
it says the Monsters Ball, that there's an implication that there's more. I know nothing has been announced, but
I know. There's no books yet. This book came out 6 months ago? Is
no,
your release date?
I
Or
have
is
the
that a
release date
year?
as December of 23. Yeah,
Okay,
so
so
yeah, 6 months ago. Yeah,
6
you're
months
right.
ago. Okay, so it's not weird yet that we don't have a new book, but I felt
Right.
like she turned out the Cambric Creek books like
I
pancakes, man. She was
I
flipping them
think
out.
they were already on Kindle Unlimited, maybe, and they just became
Mm.
mass market. Um,
Oh, I see. Got it.
can I
So there's a
also point
rollout thing.
out
Mhm.
that, hold on, I'm pointing the wrong way.
Yep,
That
that point.
CS like I cannot see her
Yes.
name. The color of the
Yeah.
font is
Right.
too pale, and it
Mhm.
needs to be a darker blue in order for us to read it.
Or it needed to have a drop shadow or something.
Something. But yeah,
Yeah.
so
Contrast.
contrast, but
Yeah. But from what I glean, I think she's maybe a self-publishing author, so she probably designed that book cover herself.
it's possible. But
It's definitely possible.
Book Talk has
Mhm.
absolutely given the green light and the obsession to
Mhm.
all of her work.
Yeah.
Creek more so than
Yeah.
this, but
Mhm.
like yeah. So
Absolutely.
power of suggestion there. Everybody's talking about
Absolutely.
it's sort of like the Ruby Dixon thing, right? Like nobody knew about Ruby
Mhm.
Dixon, and then everybody knew about the Blue Aliens. That's sort of
Absolutely.
the same with the Milking Farm series.
Mhm.
Nobody knew about it, and then all of a sudden we all wanted to discuss Minotaur's ability to fill milk bottles.
God. Okay, let's not. Let's I don't wanna think too hard about it. I don't wanna
Yeah, that
think too
is.
hard about it.
I mean, I feel like that
That's
is the case with all of the monster things. Like,
yeah.
it is.
Some of it could gross you out.
Some of it could gross you out. And I think that is sort of the conversation to be had. And I don't think any of our questions
Mhm.
have this, is
Yeah.
when we talk about the fact that these novels and the scenes within them are sexy, they're sort of sexy unless you try to imagine it in real life. And then it
Yeah.
gets weird and gross and on.
Well, for some people, you know, monster fantasies could be what get them off.
Fair.
I don't wanna, turn off any listeners who are like, "I do masturbate thinking about minotaurs," or whatever.
Fair, fair. I am not here to kink shame or to yuck anybody's yum, but to put it in both terms. But but I do think, I mean, there are times when I will read something, and Milking Farm was definitely that for me. Like I read it and I went, "This is not like deep down. This is not sexy for me."
Mhm.
But on the
Mhm.
surface level, tell me
Yeah.
more. Let me read
Yes, yes.
another.
Right. It you can experience sexiness and not internalize the sexiness,
Right. I
perhaps.
think this book,
Uh-huh. Mhm.
I could internalize a lot more of it. Again, because
Yeah,
maybe it matched a childhood fantasy for me, but it
right.
or a teenagehood fantasy, so not to make it
Mhm.
weird. Um but also, I mean, the weirdest thing we're imagining is that at some point he is a marble statue. But short of that,
Right. And I would say we've been primed by Sarah J. Maas because, like, he's got wings and horns. Like,
yes.
wings and horns aren't that far off from, you know, angel fantasy or devils, which, you know, or demons, which we've read a lot of that kind of smutty porn.
Yeah.
Um, so like this book is just tangential, and then there's bigger steps that you take in the Camber Creek series, and then in the Ravisher Rogue series. So uh, yes, yeah. What was your question or thought? Yes, is my
that
answer.
was
Agreed.
that was my thought, was about the fact that, like, that on the surface level the sexy is sexy, but then for
Mhm.
some people, if you really dig deeper, it gets
Yes, got it.
less.
Right. It's
uh,
right.
but
But
case
I
in
think
point,
when
my
we were
mention of the milk
all
bottles.
sure, yes. No, thank you. But I think, you know, we all were into blue dick last year, so what legs do we have to stand on?
Exactly. So I know we've gone completely off the question
It's
rails
okay.
here.
Why don't you let's talk about Eleanor.
Yes. That's exactly where I'm headed. So this is a shout out to performers the world over, to entertainers the
Whoop
world
whoop.
over. He originally doesn't want to marry her or to be in a committed relationship with her because he has convinced himself that a human woman would not want to be tied down to him because he's awake at night and he's asleep during the day. And the
Mhm.
reason that he is ultimately convinced that she is okay with the arrangement isn't because she tells him that she's okay with it, but because
Yeah.
she used to be an opera singer, and so she kept
Mhm.
late night hours and slept in for the morning, and therefore is a creature of the
Mhm.
night. So
Yeah.
and I think maybe that's also a
Yeah.
subversion of, like, opera
Mhm.
singers not being seen as acceptable in society.
Mhm.
They're acceptable as entertainment, but not acceptable as marriage material in
Mhm.
this age. And maybe that's the comment. Sorry,
And
I'm
well,
just
there's
scratching my arm.
also the all the times that we see actresses or opera singers in books at this time, they're the mistresses, they're the women you don't wed, and they're like hooking up with every, you know, they're finding a patron to take care of them. And she wasn't that. She was like, I'm not going to do that. That's not what I'm interested in. And that's another subversion. So there's lots of little twists on the trope or on the culture throughout this book. Um, and they also reinforce that in the book, the sort of at the monster's ball, she misses a date with another suitor because it was in the afternoon and she fell asleep under a tree and took a nap. Like, she's just not used to being awake during the day. So like it was a constant
Can
reinforcement.
hard relate to this.
Look, did I subconsciously wear black just because this was about theater people? Maybe. Um, for me, like the one sort of but like I have some critiques. I like this book in general. I have some critiques. The first one is there's one line early in the book in like the first act where she says, at the end of our like first meeting, we agreed that this would be he would give me theoretical lessons in how to attract a husband at the Monsters Ball. It would not be physical. We would not physicalize anything. It would be theoretical only. And then immediately in the next scene, they're physicalizing it with no like justification, no like but we said we weren't going to. Like, why even have that line in the book? Why even like lay that option down there? Just leave it all question marks and just let it be. I found it very frustrating. Soapbox. It was a little soapbox. It was just like one of those half apple boxes. I'm just gonna half step off of that one. I mean, I get unless you want me to keep going because I have another complaint.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, we're gonna another half apple. So now we're at a full apple box, soapbox to stand on. I couldn't love Silas because he was a rake, and like rakes are very popular in these books, or at least Regency romances. But it was really off-putting for me that he fucked married women. And like, yeah, I don't want to yuck people's yums. These women had consensual relationships with him. They chose that. They probably have terrible arranged marriages, blah 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 blah. It was a turnoff for me. I've never been attracted to the morally gray character. That is just not, it's just not for me. So if you too aren't into morally gray characters, just know that that's a prism of his character that you will not enjoy.
I love a morally gray character so much.
God, I forgot this about you. I think I choose to forget this about you.
I love them a little bit on the terrible side. I do. Well, I think so, but not condoning any of the actions, but yeah, he explains why he does it. Firstly, because he is providing a service to the women who cannot receive that service from their husbands. And secondly, he does it so that there is no chance of him. Right? It's a selfless act of not tying these women to himself. Is what he tells himself. That's what he tells her.
So
that's
selfish. Right.
It is absolutely selfish.
He doesn't want to get attached to anybody. Yeah.
And he doesn't want to open himself up to heartache. And find someone.
Well, he doesn't want to be the Marquis anymore, and he has these plans to fake his own death and let his sister be the Marquis, and go be a pirate with his brother. So like he's ready to not be involved in society anymore. So why would he commit to a relationship with somebody?
Right.
But like, bleh. Just don't care for it. Yeah. Do you want to talk a little bit about the epilogue?
I feel like we're going to talk a lot about the epilogue.
Yeah, we are. So, you want to foreshadow the epilogue?
One of the things that I wrote into our script is that there is an epilogue foreshadowing conversation, and it's not subtle, right? Like when they have that conversation, I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna act this out later. Like this will happen later, partially because I've read C.M. Nascosta's before and I know what to expect, and partially because it was like, yeah, this is obviously gonna happen at some point. But they discuss the fact that when he desolidifies from marble. I was like, what's the word? What's the word for
Humanizes?
human? Yeah. That there's a time while the sun is while the while the sun is setting, so in twilight. I was like, again with the words, that he can feel things, but he is still
Mm-hmm.
marbleized.
Mm-hmm.
Marbled? Marbleized? No, I think it's marbleized. And that it is torturous for him to sort of exist in this, or it can be, to exist in like this half world
Mm-hmm.
where he is mentally present and he can feel things, but he cannot move. And then
Mm-hmm.
they just leave that.
Yeah.
And the moment that they had that conversation, I was like, oh, we're returning to that. Like
Yeah.
that's coming back. Um and I mean, that's like such a specific invention of this character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um Also, can I just say that his brother in the other novel was a really great mystery, and I am also
Mm-hmm.
interested in his
Yeah.
story. Would
Yes.
read that story as well.
So Silas's brother Cadmus is a side character in To Ravish a Rogue.
Yes.
Because that's set in this whole piracy pirate world.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Okay. All right. So let's talk more about this epilogue after the break.
yeah, that sounds great. Let's do it. Let's take this break and then epilogue time.
Epilogue.
We're going to take an intermission. When we come back, we will discuss our favorite moments from the book and if this book made us want to get naked. And we're back. And
Hi.
We are talking about C.M. Nascosta's How to Marry a Marble Marquis.
Yes. Yes, we are. I do want to say just another, like, the world's tiniest apple box to stand on. So they talk about in the book how he goes by Marquis instead of Marquis, which is the English version. He takes the French pronunciation.
Yeah.
But he's, every time they said the Marquis of Basingstoke, I was like, because in French, it would be like the Marquis de Basingstoke.
Oh, yes.
Like, they didn't completely French the title. And I was just like, this is like a hat on a hat situation. It's like a portmanteau, but like an octopus and a horse. Like, it's weird. It's really weird. I see what you're saying. Every time I was just like, that's not right. That can't be right.
I see what you're saying. Yes, so, if he was Marquis de, then it would be just fine.
Right. Or Marquis of Basingstoke. Also weird, but fine. So anyway, tiniest apple box, and I have now shuffle stepped off of it.
There you go.
What was your favorite moment in this book? Because I know it. It's one of the most memorable memories I've have of you talking about a book. Your opinion, this moment in this book.
Okay, so this moment in this book is early on, actually, and it was really fun. It was unexpected. I was not expecting this. During they have a tea together to meet and to get to know each other. And during this tea, she asks him how he could possibly help her to get a husband and how he could possibly teach her to the wiles of flirting. And then he goes on this and then he goes on this entire monologue about butterflies pollinating, but it's really a metaphor for
fucking around.
Yeah. for going for being the rakish rogue that he is. And it was really cleverly metaphored, if you will.
Sure. If you want to say clever, great. I think it was awkward. He's like, the butterfly can sip from the from the flower landing delicately on its petals without harming the flower, and I'm just like, bleh. My opinion was bleh.
I thought it was
Oh,
really
and
clever.
he kept using the term pussy flower, which is abhorrent. I hate it, and I hate it strongly. It might be in my top 3 least favorite sex words in a romance book.
Excellent. Is tumescence one of the other ones?
No, his club and her area are definitely, within the top 5.
Yes, both of those.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, excellent. But pussy, no. So, like, that it's a through metaphor, they use it a lot,
They use it a lot.
in the book, so, I had to just deal with it.
Interestingly, to the Monsters Ball, she wears a moth costume.
Right, because there's, like, a pivot halfway through where they realize butterflies are only out during the day, and moths are out at night, and so they kind of pivot that metaphor to moths halfway through.
Yes.
Yeah,
And then she's a
moths,
moth.
creatures.
And
Yeah, creature in
he
the night.
is no longer the butterfly because in his metaphor he is the butterfly.
Yes, correct.
Right. And then she
Dipping his tongue into the okay, I remembered the phrase dipping his tongue into the flower. Okay, I can't. But it's memorable. It's a
it's
memorable,
memorable.
unique metaphor.
It's memorable.
Um, for me, the epilogue. The epilogue is the most memorable thing when you're like, "We're gonna do this book." I was like, "I should reread," and I was like, "I don't have to reread the epilogue because I remember that she does exactly what they preamble earlier in the book, which is she fucks him as he turns to stone and then resumes fucking him as he humanizes from stone. And so like he's left hard and just about to come asleep as stone all day long, basically.
It's the most blue balls of all time.
Yeah. Well, he's black marble, so black
Black
balls?
balls. I mean, yeah.
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 That's
Yeah.
edging to a new level.
Whole new level. Uh, eh, it's kind of mean. It's kind of mean, in my opinion.
I mean,
But he's kind of mean, so he probably likes it.
I was gonna say again, not to yuck anybody's yum. That kind of orgasm denial might be his kink.
Mhm. Could be. Could be. And also he's asleep for most of it.
Right.
So,
Yes.
so yeah, that epilogue is without a doubt, hands down, the most unique thing I've read that is in this book.
Fair. Fair.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is self-evident, but a hot take on this book.
Yes. Yeah. This book is sexy as hell if I ignore it when he talks. I don't like any of his metaphors, any of the things he says. Just like I just ignore that part and yes, sexy as hell.
He is very stereotypically the guy from Regency, like
Yeah.
just like in the
Yeah.
Bridgerton episode where you had an issue with Colin in the book. I feel like this is the same dude. Everything's about him and his wants and needs. And then he's like dumbstruck by the fact that he is putting someone else's needs in front of his own. Because how could that possibly be the case?
Right. I do want to say, I think there's a Bridgerton nod in this book because one of the girls that she befriends at the Monsters Ball, who's also trying to find a husband, her name is Penelope. And she's bookish.
Uh-huh.
That feels heavily naughty.
That is one step away from the bees, right? If they would have brought up the fact that there's a bee somewhere on her dress, then that would have been it.
Yeah, that would have been it. So yes, generally sexy as hell. Your hot take?
Yes, this one is so much fun. And worst case scenario, it's short. So even if you didn't
Mhm.
like it, you didn't commit that much time to it. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
short, it's pretty, world's really clearly defined, very few downsides. It is quite smutty, so if that's not your jam, then
Right.
there are huge swaths of this book that you would skip. So
Making it even shorter.
making it even shorter, exactly. Um, yeah.
So,
That
did this book make you want to get naked?
well, so this is where in the script I wrote the epilogue, and then I in all caps spelled it out one letter
Yeah.
at the time. The
Yes.
epilogue. Um,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I mean,
good. And like,
th- there
go
are
ahead.
other interactions too, but like once you get all the way through the end of the book, you're like, oh no, the epilogue takes the cake on everything else.
Mhm. Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Fully agree. And like they this book is written, I would say it is female gaze, because there's a scene where he goes down on her, and then they Vaseline the scene where she gives him head. So like they just talk about like that's a thing that they do. And they keep and with all good romances, the sexy bits escalate and get uh more raunchy, I guess, more explicit,
Yeah,
more
more explicit.
penetrative,
Huh.
all that. So yeah, yeah, it's book is what I just said.
It's so sexy that you lost your words.
It's so sexy, it's book. It's just hands down book. 10 of 10 book.
Book.
5 books.
Excellent. Excellent. So good. I will say I wish we spent more time on the whole wing feather like biology. Like I she talks
Okay.
about the fact that his like the under down feathers are more sensitive, but then is that not in this book? Is that a different book
That's not this
about a
book.
witch?
Yeah. Yeah. So, he has horns, and they're kind of sensitive, but not as sensitive as other creatures in other books we've read. He he has bat-like wings that have claws on them, and he can't take off. But if he jumps from a great height, he can catch the air and fly for distances. In one scene, he carries her
Right.
um,
I remember that, but does
in
she
flight.
not pet the underside of his bat-like wings? Is that not in this book?
I don't remember that.
Okay. I could have sworn that
I
that was in
don't
this book.
remember them being downy, but
Oh, that's fair. Fair,
either
right? Because they're leathery and
leathery.
bat-like. Yeah. So
Yeah.
this may not be the only book with winged boyfriends that I've read. Is what we're
Oh,
discovering.
I can count at least 4 easily, and 3 of them are that Sarah J. Maas
Yes.
story that I get mixed up with the other Sarah J. Maas stories. Like easily. There are so many. We've had so many winged boyfriends, book boyfriends. Uh Delightful.
Yes.
So, and what else? Is there anything else you wish we would have talked more about this
Uh,
book before we disappear?
ugh, that was terrible. I tried to speak twice and failed.
You
No.
had 8 thoughts in that 0.3 seconds.
So now you've seen my brain. This is
Yes.
exactly how my brain brains at all times. Um,
Mm,
no, but the thing I was gonna say is it's a shorter book, and so there's fewer uh, subplots to go down the rabbit
yeah.
holes of. It
Yeah.
it has a very solid plot and world, so there's very little to nitpick at. Um, and
Mhm.
and so there's really and this happens, this wordlessness or this lack of things to talk about, I feel like happens to us when we both really like the book. And then it's like, we just
Yeah.
like it, just shut up and read it. Like we don't want to talk about it. We
Right.
want you to like read it and then we'll talk about it together. And so like this is absolutely in that category for me. This is a now I've told you the title and sort of what it's about, and now I'm going to shut up so you can go read this book.
Right. It is it's what I think every good book lover does, which is scream at our friends about a book that we love until they read it. Which is inevitably 3 years from now when we've forgotten and we've stopped screaming about it, and they're like, "Oh, I was on vacation and I picked it up," and we were like, "Fucking finally!"
Yes. So
That's just
this is what's happening here. So no, I do not have any other thoughts other than I need more Monsters Ball books, please and thank you. If you're not yet writing them, get on it.
Hop on that stony gargoyle dick and write it. I mean, write it. Yikes.
Wow, you are places. This is book.
I am. This is so book, everybody. Okay, so what I would like to now pivot us to talk to is we haven't told our lovely viewers that this is the penultimate episode for season 4. We're doing, I don't think we told them that we're only going to do 6 episodes this year. And so this is me doing that. You're making a face.
I am making a face because my face is, have we done 6? Is this our 6th episode?
No. Penultimate is the next to ultimate. So
very good.
This is episode 5.
This is why I was like, wait, am I forgetting an entire episode?
And so we have one more episode that we have not yet recorded.
Good.
And we're going to try something new with that episode. So please come back to see what chaos ensues when we do something different for our season finale of season 4.
Yes.
Yes. Any other announcements before we talk about what we're reading next and disappear into the night?
So this is this announcement belongs at the beginning of this season. So it's going really well.
We are the best.
So good. And it has to do with the fact that our outro to the episode, firstly, it says that sometimes I do the audio editing for us, and we've been so fortunate in the 4 years that I have never had to do it, and Finn has always been able to accommodate us. Thank you for that, Finn. And so that really shouldn't exist. Like, it should really not say that I do any of it, because I don't. And I just want that on the record. And then secondly, our outro, I think, tells people to find us on Twitter. Twitter has not been called Twitter for 2 years now.
Do people care that it's called X? Do people call it X now?
I will tell you,
I'm so far out of the X Twitter sphere that I don't know.
So Gen Alphas do call it X because I've definitely had them refer to it as such, and then my brain did a little scramble. And then
X equals Twitter.
Right, exactly.
Your brain
and then the Twitter emails, if you receive those that are like your daily digest, still say X, formerly Twitter. So even the email has to remind you that it is actually still Twitter.
Amazing. So maybe for season 5 we'll update that to say X.
Or maybe X will no longer exist by that point because dumpster fires.
Yeah. I do not care. I don't care about Elon Musk. I don't need to talk about him, but I have opinions. So yes, our outro, bad, wrong. Just stop watching when it comes on, unless you need that information. It's fine. Unless you want to find Finnegan on X, because his handle is the most important information in that blurb. And maybe we'll do something new next year. But for now, we will continue to be averagely good at this.
Averagely good is where we're at. So yes, my my two announcements are I don't ever do our audio editing, and we're thankful for that.
Yeah.
And Twitter is now X, but I'm sure you knew that already without me telling you.
What if you're the first, somebody out there is just learning for the first time in the middle of 2024 that Twitter is now called X? Like, you could be changing somebody's life.
Excellent. Well, in that case, you're welcome.
Excellent. All right. Let's close it out. What are you consuming, reading, watching, doing with your life?
My next is, I think, Lana Ferguson. Ooh, Lana Ferguson's.
Oh,
There we go. The Game
okay.
Changer, which is a hockey romance, because
You have been on the hockey romance kick lately.
not intentionally. So I didn't know that Lana Ferguson had a hockey one, but I've read everything else that she's done, and have
what other stuff have she written?
Sure, she did The Nanny, and then she did The Fake Mate, where they are werewolves and they're doctors and they have to fake being
I didn't
together.
read either of these so far. Okay.
And so there's another one of hers that is scheduled to come out later in the year. And when I went to put that on my TBR, it was like, this other one is coming out sooner. So I put it on my TBR, not realizing that it's a hockey romance. And then when it arrived from the library, I was like, oh, I guess like there was a memo, like sometimes movies will get released and they're all sort of about the same thing. I feel like this is the same, right? There's all of these authors who have a hockey romance that they have put out right this second because Pucking Wild has become so popular. If you don't know what that is, please refer to your local Target. They will have it. Also go to Book Talk. Someone will explain it.
Yeah.
But I genuinely think that she had this ready, and then hockey romance became a thing people cared about, and so it immediately went to publish.
Yeah, it's kind of like hockey romances are this summer's thing. Fortune hunting, treasure hunting was last summer's thing. Blue Aliens was the summer before. So like there's definitely ebbs and flows in popular content for sure.
So it's not that I've been on a hockey romance. I actually don't care about hockey that much. It's just what.
Whoa. She didn't mean it, everybody. Please don't alienate our very few listeners who might also be hockey fans, please.
No,
okay?
They could be hockey fans. I don't have to be hockey fans. I'm just saying that I wasn't chasing after the hockey bit of it. That just happens to be the theme right now. There was one year where baseball romances were like all the rage, and there was a ton of them about baseball players.
Interesting.
And like equal amounts of me being like, sure, I'll read that.
Great. Sure. Yeah. I don't know that I've read a baseball or a basketball, but I've done some football for sure. So, sports ball. Hell yeah. So for me, I'm sort of edging a book slump. I've been just like watching a lot of crap on TV. But and everything that comes up in like my holds list or my TBR or things I've got in a stack over here, I'm just like, but I am looking forward to Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune, which comes out September 9th, 2024, which is like weeks away. It's very exciting. So this book is the sequel to House in the Cerulean Sea, which is our favorite TJ Klune book, I think I can say unequivocally. And it's from the point of Arthur, who is the love interest in the first book. And I'm just very happy to go back there.
But it's not
lovely world.
It is a lovely world. So it is from the standpoint of Arthur, but it's not like we don't start back at the beginning of Cerulean Sea.
It's not.
We
correct.
continue with the story But it just happens that Arthur is the one telling the story this time.
Yes, correct. Thank you. Yeah. And so that comes out in just a couple of weeks, and I just remembered and realized, and so I'm very excited about that.
That is really exciting.
So, yeah. Yay! TJ Klune. Here's hoping this book won't be as traumatizing as like Under the Whispering Door was.
Yes, which I still have not read because you read it. And I went, no.
Yeah. And I haven't read Secret Lives of Puppets because that book was like so heartbreaking. And I'm just like, this book looks worse. So here's hoping we get more fluff.
Yes. Hopefully that's amazing. I am also looking forward to that book. Yeah, just so good.
Yeah.
Sorry, so there's been a lot of ums in my head today, and I am sorry
that
for
always
the ums.
happens when we like a title. There's not a lot to say. We feel like there's not a lot to say, but we still manage to find the time and fill the time.
Yes.
So don't worry about it. It's good. And Finn will cut out most of them if he can.
Thank you.
It's his superpower.
It is his superpower.
Deeply thank you. All right. I will see you for our season finale, where we try something new and different, kind of, maybe a little bit. We'll see.
A little bit. We'll see how it goes.
I hope y'all have a great day.
Yes. Bye. Thank you for joining us for an episode of Booklandia.
For more Booklandia, follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at l.skyford, Twitter at SkyfordL, and hit up our blog, lskyford.com.
We love you to the moon and back, so don't forget to rate and subscribe.
Our eternal thanks for the audio editing and support provided by Finnegan Murphy, who you can find on Twitter at Finnegan1, that's FIONNEGAN, numeral 1, and sometimes Sky herself.